Welcome to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. We are obviously live.
Yes, we are.
We're the digital duo. With me is Caleb McKelvin. Caleb, how's it going?
Man, it is going great. Got another great show today. I'm super excited about it.
Yeah, man. Especially, one of our favorite topics, SEO and content marketing.
Yeah.
So awesome. But those of you tuning in for the first time, we are a digital marketing podcast. And we talk about everything. And I say this every week, but we talk about search engine optimization, content marketing, social media,
paid advertising. We got something for everybody.
Yeah.
And like I said, we say it all the time. So what I love about this show, if this is your first time listening, obviously we got a great show for you today. Kind of the topic today is blogging, content marketing, and SEO. But of course, at the end of the show, you need to go to Search Talk Live and see everything that we have for you.
Yep.
It's all the experts we have had on the show. A lot of great stuff to learn and really expand your knowledge.
Yeah, we should be giving out a certificate. If somebody's listened to all the shows,
right?
The knowledge base is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, also, if you can, sign up to our newsletter because that gives you what's coming up and what to expect and special offers. Everything, and it's free.
Right.
And we don't spam the hell out of you. You get an email maybe once or twice a week, depending on what's going on.
Yeah, a lot of great offers. So definitely do that. We'd love for you to interact with the show today on Twitter using hashtag Search Talk Live. I'm on there right now, managing everything that's coming through. If you got questions today on the show, go to Twitter, go to hashtag Search Talk Live, get your questions in, and we'll get them on air.
Yeah, we are live on iHeartRadio nationally. You can go to iHeartRadio, and if you love Search Talk Live, 24/7. Can't get any better than that, right?
All right. Yeah.
We're also on iTunes, the Play Store, SoundCloud, Sprecher. You name it, we're all over the place.
Yep.
But, today our guest, and Caleb, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Yeah. Pretty excited about our guest today. I'm actually a fan of his work with Well Kept Wallet. He is the founder of Well Kept Wallet, which has been featured in U.S. News and World Report, Fox News, Yahoo's Finance. I mean, it's all over the place. And he's the owner of Phoenix SEO Company. Today, we have SEO expert and writer Deacon Hayes. Deacon, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
We appreciate you joining us today. If you could, just to kind of get things started, would you mind kind of telling our listeners a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and what you got going on now?
Yeah, absolutely. So when my wife and I got married, we decided we were going to combine our finances. And when we did that, we realized we had $52,000 in debt. And I don't know about you guys, but for us starting out in life, that just seemed like a lot of debt to pay off. And so I started this blog called Well Kept Wallet as a way to kind of just, track our journey and share tips and things that we learn along the way. And, we ended up paying that $52,000 off in 18 months.
That's amazing.
And it was amazing on our end too. I mean, it was just invigorating, right? Just to say, hey, we no longer have this debt. And I had this website, and the only way that I was really using it was to kind of be an outlet, right? No idea of getting traffic or, I was just trying to help people, right?
Right.
And so along the way, I started to get traffic from Google for people that want to get out of debt, put together a budget, that type of thing. And I was like, how does Google know to send people to my site, right? Like, that's just crazy. So started researching, SEO and, black hat versus white hat, and find guys like Neil Patel and Rand Fishkin and Matt Cutts back in the day when he still worked at Google. I don't know. Does he still work at Google? I mean, he's on this lifelong hitus. But,
right.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he's up to these days. Yeah, I don't think anybody really knows.
But so, and I was just eating it up, right? Like just all this information about search engine optimization. And so that kind of led me to start an SEO company because I had friends that said, hey, I see what you do with your site. Can you do that with our local company? And so I created Phoenix SEO as a way to help local companies as well. And it's been great ever since.
Great. Now, let me ask you this. Did you you had no knowledge of SEO at the beginning, right? When you started the blog?
Correct. And I didn't really know anything about websites or content. I just started, right?
Wow. So you just kind of fell into the whole
Hey, that's cool. That's cool. Well, I mean, that's
awesome.
very interesting because people probably think, well, there's no way I can do that. When you did get started, did you just use kind of those big influencers, kind of learn from them? Like, where'd you really dive in to kind of learn about the industry and kind of the ins and outs of what was going on?
Yeah, I'd say, well, Moz and QuickSprout were probably the two resources that I used the most, right, to see what was up to date with Google and different techniques and that kind of thing. And I toyed around in some of the gray hat type stuff, and then I got slapped, and I'm like, I'm never doing that again, And so, so it was really just those two main resources, and then every once in a while, like Search Engine Journal or anything that kind of popped up and had authoritative content. But I just wanted to stay current and up to date and kind of get as much information as I could and do things in a Google-friendly way.
Yeah, yeah, right. Now, I know, you've had Well Kept Wallet for those that, kind of write in the personal finance industry, which I've done a little bit myself. It's a great website, a great blog. Kind of when you got started and started learning the SEO part of things and kind of the online marketing part of things, kind of how did you transition that website? Because, going from not really knowing what was going on as far as how Google's finding your site, how you're getting that traffic, how did you, okay, now I have this knowledge, now I can apply it. Did you see kind of a big change, a big difference?
I did. One of the things I did is I hired 2 staff writers, and I started researching topics and using the Google Keyword Planner. And I think back in the day I was using Market Samurai, which I don't even know if it still exists, but I probably have a lifetime subscription to it. But so I would just use Google Keyword Planner, figure out what people are searching for, and then I'd have content writers or staff writers write about it. But what I found is I didn't know everything, right? So it kind of happened in phases. So I was having them write these like 500 to 7-word posts, but they wouldn't rank. And so, it's like one of those things where, I was reading an article from Neil Patel at QuickSprout, and he was saying how the average first page result had 2,400 words. And I'm like, I don't even think I have one post on my website that has 2,400 words, you know? And so that was where it was, okay, creating content with purpose, right? Instead of just creating content to churn out content, it was really to create good quality content that would solve, whatever the person's searching for in Google, right? Solve that issue. And so, the content became more and more authoritative, more word count, more engaging in the comments. I have some posts that have 60 comments on it, right? And I'm under the impression from my research that actually adds to the content that Google crawls. And so, the more engagement that is seen and the more content that's on the page, the better. So those were kind of some of the evolutions along the way from blogging.
Yeah. Not to kind of get ahead of topic or whatever, but it's very interesting that you touched on comments, because I think a lot of people have an issue really getting comments on their content, even when they're having a lot of people read it. Is that something that you've kind of focused on as far as, okay, let's drive content that's going to engage the reader and kind of they'll want to leave a comment or provide their opinion? Is that something that you've kind of focused on a little bit, maybe to add that value to your blog posts?
Post specific, yes, but not in general. You could probably go to some posts on my site and they have 0 comments, right? But if I wanted to rank something, or if I wanted to get engagement out of something, I would put effort into, getting it shared on social media, into promoting it. Like if I'm on a podcast, I could say, hey, check out this recent post I did, or, things like that, to where I could get people to intentionally engage about that content. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think that's the thing is, people have this mentality of build it and they will come. Well, I don't think it's not 100% that, right? Like you have to build it and then promote it and then engage with people within that community. So there's more to it than just creating the content.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the mark. And that's kind of what I want to touch on is as far as, the whole process, the mindset you have when you're creating a content piece, because I think a lot of people kind of create something. They might see that, oh, this topic's getting traffic. Let's see what we can do with it. Throw something on a wall and hope it sticks. And that just doesn't work. So what I'd kind of like you to touch on is, we can kind of break down the process a little bit. But when you're first trying to find topics or, what you can write about, or when you do find something to write about, kind of when you're sitting down, what's your mindset with that piece? And are you creating goals before you even put pen to paper, so to speak?
Yeah, so really, I want to say there's two different types of content nowadays that I write. One is going to be for social shares. The other is going to be for SEO, because some stuff that I want people to take action on doesn't need to be 1,000 words, and so that will be more of a social post. And so if we're talking, specifically an SEO post, it will be something where I'm going to research what the keyword is. I'm going to research the competition. I'm going to find the competition that has a similar domain authority. And do you want me to touch on domain authority at all?
Yeah, you can. That's fine.
Yeah, it's just basically a scale of 1 to 100. How authoritative is your site in the eyes of Google or Moz, whatever you want to say. But, and so the higher the number, the more authoritative, the more likely it is for you to rank. So when I'm searching, I'm looking for, my domain authority for Well Kept Wallet is like a 50. So I'm looking for something that has a similar domain authority or lower. And then I take that and I use a tool called SEMrush. And I take that link, so that URL that's ranking, and I put it in SEMrush, and I see what other keywords are they ranking for around that keyword that I'm trying to target. So it's a little bit of in-depth, right? So it really takes a lot of planning and saying, okay, I want to make sure that I have semantic keywords, so keywords that are similar, not exact match within the post. I want to see what else they're ranking for that, I could, some long tail keywords that I could also rank for in that post. And then just make sure that content really is quality, that, if people want to search Google and find a piece of content that's going to solve their problem, that this piece of content will do it. And I will say I'm not perfect. So, I hope people realize I'm not saying that I've like figured it out, right? I don't rank number one for everything, right? But I do rank for some really competitive terms and continue to do so. And so that's kind of the initial process that I use when writing those posts.
Yeah.
Yeah, was there this aha moment when you're like, I know what to do? Or did you just, as you learned and kind of implemented those strategies, that happened? I mean,
so here's an interesting case study around that. So I rank for debt success stories. Mm-hmm. It's either me or Dave Ramsey. It's like I'm either number one or number two, depending on the day. And Dave Ramsey is known for debt success stories, right? But if you look at his page, it's not optimized at all. Zero. I mean, it's like We Did It or something like that is the title. And, and it's so, for me, I wanted to interview people that have had, just regular people that have paid off debt and feature them on my site. Mm-hmm. And so if you were to go to that page, it's literally like 50 something stories of people that paid off debt. And initially I didn't want to rank for debt success stories. That wasn't my point. My point was I just wanted to have this series and feature these stories. And then I realized that the more of them that I did, the higher up in Google I went, right, for that specific keyword. And so it's like, that was kind of that aha moment of, oh my gosh, if someone types into Google debt success stories and I've got 50 of them there, that's exactly what they're looking for. They want to look at, hey, maybe they have cancer. Oh, here's a woman that paid off debt and she had cancer and she was getting chemotherapy. Or, hey, I've got 5, a family of 5. Oh, here's a family of 5 that paid off debt. So I was creating this resource that was an ultimate, guide for people looking to pay off debt. And Google really honored that and said, hey, this is great. So I think for me, that was kind of this awakening of, that's what good content looks like.
Right. Yeah. Right. And obviously staying on topic is a huge part.
The relevance. And the other thing is the internal linking component to it. Sure. So, realizing, okay, I'm going to link, I have 50 stories and they're all linking back to this debt success stories page because it's all part of a series. So as in Google's eyes, here's all this related content about getting out of debt. So that definitely helped.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's run through your, more of the structure of what you wanted to talk about today about, what people can do to tweak their blog site to do better in Google or search.
Yeah, the first thing I would say is, and I looked back at my old content and I've no indexed it, or a lot of it, because they were like 300-word posts or 400-word posts. And, they didn't really have, it was just kind of my thoughts versus trying to help someone with a problem. Yeah. So really, when you're writing content, you can have informational content that, I don't think that really jives as well as something that kind of solves a problem. Because if it solves a problem, you're probably going to get someone to take action, right? So, for instance, my debt success stories example, if someone types into Google, they come to my website, they read a story, and then I have a free debt snowball form to get them out of debt, they're more than likely going to click on that and download my form and sign up for my newsletter, right? So really, when you're writing that content, I look at it in the eyes of like, how can I solve this person's problem? And you can't really do that in 300 words. Typically you're going to want to have something authoritative, and really having, above 1,000 words would be my minimum. And I'm going to start, when it comes to SEO stuff, it's going to be 2,000 and above, because a lot of the stuff that ranks for us is over 2,000 words. So really just saying, okay, if you've got a 500 word post, you're going to have to put some elbow grease into it and make it, 2,000 words or 1,500 words. I also use a tool called Internet Marketing Ninja's SEO comparison tool. Have you guys heard of that?
I have
Long
not.
title.
Yeah. Well, it's I did that because if people are going to Google it, right, they should be able to pull it right up by doing that. But basically, it's a side-by-side comparison tool where you can put your URL of your post and then your competition. And so right now we're kind of talking about previous posts, not like starting from scratch.
Sure.
But being able to see, well, mine has 486 words and they've got 1,922, and here are the most common words that are in the post, etc. So really, it's kind of like this snapshot of here's where they are and they're ranking, here's where you are and you're not, right?
Yeah.
And so then going through and kind of fine tuning and tweaking, right? But I want to keep in mind that like the whole idea of SEO is to provide the best content, right?
Sure.
If you're just writing content to write content, you're wasting your time, right? Like, and I've done that. And so I'm coming from the other side saying, don't do that anymore, right? Like really focus on, okay, if I'm going to spend time, energy, and effort into this, I'm going to make something that's really going to be valuable. And in doing so, it's likely that people want to link to it. It's likely that people want to share it. But really, so the first thing I'd say is going through and making sure that the word count is appropriate for whatever keyword that you're trying to rank for. And the best way is to use that side-by-side comparison tool, because you can see what it is versus yours.
Do you happen to know the name of it? Because I can't find it.
I can look it up right now while we're talking here.
Okay.
So I think it is the SEO comparison. Okay. Actually, I have it here. Side-by-side SEO comparison tool.
Okay.
Nice.
And it's by Internet Marketing Ninjas.
Cool.
Sweet.
Check that out.
So that's the first thing. The other thing is using multiple header tags, right? I mean, I think a lot of times I see people just use bold for headers, and so for those that are listening, header tags really are just kind of like the main points of the article. And I always like to look at like the H1 is kind of like the headline in a newspaper, right? It's like the main idea. And so typically, want to make sure that I have the keywords in it. Nowadays, not necessarily have to be exact match, but want to have it in there. You could also use semantic keywords. So like, for instance, if you want to write a post about automobiles, right, you could put vehicles, and that would be a semantic keyword. Right. So using header 1 tags, but also using header 2, header 3 tags. I actually only use header 1 and header 3 tags now, and I use header 2 tags if it seems natural. Mm-hmm. I've seen some other sites that do this, and so it's just a small tweak that I've done, because I think that I was reading some article about how H2 tags are overused, and so sometimes people get dinged for they're trying to put the keyword in the H1 and the H2, and it's over optimized. And
yeah.
But that's just my technique. I still think H2s are valuable, but that's just something that I've been doing.
Sure. Awesome.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really understand how to optimize blog posts.
Right.
They think they just write the content and everything's good. So
there's a strategy behind it.
Yeah, there is a strategy behind it, especially from an SEO standpoint, is that not only you're providing value, but you have to understand, you have to have the keyword phrase in your title. It needs to be in your content. It needs to be the focus of your content.
And what's the goal?
And what's the goal? Yeah. We actually did have a couple of questions come in. We'll go ahead and touch on them right now. We have Anthony ask, when writing these and kind of adding that value, does media inside your post actually make a difference?
Absolutely. So I'm assuming he's talking about like having a YouTube video or having
video
something.
or audio clip or graphic or something of that nature.
Yeah, so Google is very smart these days, right? And so any content is content. So if you add videos, and that video, you're like, how to sell a vehicle on Craigslist, is your article, and you have a video that you link to that's 10 tips to sell your vehicle fast on Craigslist, and you embed it in there. Like, absolutely, Google's going to say that's a helpful piece of content to go along that's relevant with your article. So definitely would say, if you can do it, don't force it, but if it's relevant, it makes sense, definitely add it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it goes back to the users, I think, are starting to digest content in different ways.
Yeah.
And if they're able to watch a video, even if you kind of have like an article there that's, if the video's about the article, you're giving them options. And, of course, it's going to help boost that content.
Yeah, and I've seen case studies where that actually helps in the SEO as far as having reference material with it. Google picks up on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the other thing that I was thinking is the average duration on that page, right? I mean, if you have a video and and it's a 30-minute video, the chance of them hanging around is a lot greater than if you don't. So,
sure.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: when you're creating blogs, and obviously you want to get links to those specific pages, but are you doing outreach, or is it come natural now for you, or is it how is that working?
So one of the things that I've done is I've kind of become friends with people within that community, right? So I am intentional about reaching out to people within the community, but I'm never asking for links, right? I just I'll go comment on their site, or I'll share their posts on social media, or so I am being very engaged within that community, and because of that, people see my content, like the content, share it, link to it. And so it's not like this exact, like, okay, I'm going to target this site so I can get a link from them. It's very much, I'm just going to engage within this community with the idea that people will value it and, want to share it and link to it.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure. And the link is just kind of icing on the cake type of thing.
Right. And I mean, I think the thing is a lot of the posts that I've gotten links to are because it's just, hey, this is a relevant post for this niche, and they found it helpful, and so therefore they link to it.
Yeah. Have you seen that certain types of content are becoming more linkable than others that more are interested in it? Because I know, you read kind of these articles on, the top pieces of content that are going to get links are they're heavy in statistical value, or their opinion pieces or something of that nature. Kind of in your industry and what you've written about, do you see certain ones that people are more drawn to and want to link to?
I would say, so I'm thinking of a couple. So one, I like this passive income post, which is like how to make passive income while you sleep, right? And so I think most people, if you're breathing, would want to make passive income, right? Like, to make money while you sleep, that idea is very enticing.
Yeah.
And so that's shareable. And I've had people say that they do, interesting things, when it comes to passive income, and want to engage with that content. So things like making extra money, paying off debt, kind of things that help people achieve their life goals.
Yeah.
I think that they solve a problem, right? And they're like, hey, I want to make some extra money. I want to pay off debt. And so it really appeals to them. So I've seen those do really well. But that's my community, right? And everybody has kind of their own, I think you'd say emotional posts, right? Like that you can connect to. Like, I've paid off debt and I've made six figures. So I have those two things that people can kind of relate to me of, like, I would like to pay off debt, or I'd like to make six figures. And so, they want to engage with that type of content.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the major questions that our listeners have, and I've gotten this plenty of times, I don't think there's any secret formula to it, but just kind of, since you've been doing this for a while, how often do you suggest that somebody commits to posting or writing kind of on a weekly basis? Because I think some people think, well, if I'm not writing multiple times, posting something multiple times a day, every day, then I'm not going to get the traffic, I'm not going to get the engagement. Of course, that's not true, but kind of, how do you think somebody should find how many times they should post, and kind of what would you kind of recommend that they do as far as being consistent with it, and how often they should be posting weekly?
So it's interesting. I'm definitely more of a quality, not quantity type guy.
Yeah.
So, Derek Halpern did a study from Social Triggers a while back, and he went from, I forget what it was, like let's say 4 times a month to once a month, right? But he just made quality, and he had these metrics of just how his traffic skyrocketed. And, the guy from Backlinko, Brian Dean, I think it is, he had 23 articles on his site and he was getting over 100,000 visitors, and so like there's all of these case studies of people that if you just write really good content, like Google will recognize it and send people to you, if you're doing these basic things, right?
Yeah.
And so but fresh content is good, right? And if you're going to create, you got to create a habit, right? I wouldn't have started with a 2,000 word post. I would have started with a 300 word post. So really it is about creating that habit, being consistent about it. And so I'd say once a week is a good start. Even if you can't do that, once every 2 weeks, just to get the ball rolling and get some content. Once you get over 100 articles on your site, I'd say most sites don't have that, especially if they're businesses. Obviously, a lot of startup blogs don't have that type of content. So really, you're just trying to build up an authoritative content guide. But like I said, making sure that it's, 1,000 to 2,000 words, and that's going to take time.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
And it's basically the word of quality versus the quantity. If it takes you a month to write one article and it's quality, that's the way to go.
Yeah. If that's what's working for your blog or your business, then definitely. So yeah, I guess you have to find what's going to work for you and be consistent at it. If you're just tuning in, of course, you're listening to Search Talk Live. Thank you for joining us today. Remember to go to searchtalklive.com after the show is over. If you've missed any part of our show today with special guest Deacon Hayes, then you can go listen to that full episode. Our special guest is Deacon Hayes, the owner of Phoenix SEO Company and the founder of Well Kept Wallet. We are sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out everything that they have to offer there. A bunch of cool stuff for you. So we had another question come in, Deacon, from Jessa. She said that she has a bunch of old posts that she thinks if she kind of reworked them a little bit, they would do well. So she asked, how should you handle these old posts, kind of find a way to
breathe some life into them?
Yeah, breathe some life into them and get them back in front of your audience and see if they can do better than they did before.
So one of the first things I did is I created a spreadsheet that I forget if I used Screaming Frog or SEMrush. I used some tool where I could just say, send me every URL that I have in my site in a spreadsheet in an Excel doc. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have to do every single one. And then I created different columns in this content audit. And so what I would do is just go through and see if there are any similar posts. Being in the finance industry, there's not a lot to it. It's like, it's either budgeting or getting out of debt or making money, right? So it's easy to kind of write the same thing over and over again. So what I try to do is look for trends and see things that are very similar, right? So if I have 3 posts about ways to make money, well, maybe I should combine those posts. So, 500 words a piece, that's 1,500 words for one article, which could be a better, more authoritative piece of content, right? So first you're going to look for articles that you can combine. Then you could look for articles that you can delete, right? These are articles that maybe they were guest posts that you got back in the day that, weren't quality, or maybe you just wrote a 300-word rant or whatever it is, and it just doesn't have any SEO value and really maybe no place on your site anymore. Mm-hmm. So you're going to look for things you can combine, things you can delete, and then things that you can keep. But when you look at things that you can keep, what I like to do is find out if they're ranking for something and figure out what those keywords are, because chances are you're going to have to update them, like you were mentioning, Jessa. And so what you're going to want to do is now do the research that we talked about with that side-by-side comparison tool. Take that keyword, search for it, find a site that has a similar domain authority, compare your URL to their URL, and then get to work, right? Make sure that you have the right header tags, make sure that you are using semantic keywords, that you're not keyword stuffing, and just going through and freshening it up, and it's amazing what that can do. I've done that for a couple of posts, and just to see within a matter of cash envelope system, right? That's a big deal. Like Dave Ramsey has a product that he sells for that. I'm not on the first page yet, but I just went through and added some content to it. I think I'm like number 12 on Google. It's like a 1,000-word search volume. And all I did was go to an old post that I haven't touched in years and just said, hey, let me add some content to it. And now it's kind of just going to be this tweaking game of going back and forth, adding some links to it, et cetera. So really that's what I would recommend to do.
Right.
And then those posts that you did take off or move, you just 301 redirect them to the new post, right?
It depends. If they're linked to heavily within the site, yeah, absolutely, I'll redirect them. If I've never really did any linking with them and they weren't mentioned, then I might just delete them and they just disappear from the system, and then I don't have to worry about them ever again. Yeah. But yeah, 301 redirect whenever it's questionable.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
None that have come through yet on Twitter. Remember, you can go to hashtag Search Talk Live on Twitter. Get your questions in. We appreciate Anthony and Jessica getting their question for Deacon. But yeah, you can go ahead and do that as we're talking about how bloggers can improve their SEO and using this for your website. A lot of cool stuff. Now, Deacon, you're also the owner of Phoenix SEO Company. I know you had mentioned earlier that you kind of fell into helping local companies do their SEO and stuff like that. Do you use have you found that blogging and content marketing, because I think a lot of local companies, they don't really buy into this or see it to be necessary. Is this something you've used for local companies and it has been successful?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. So I have friends that are local business owners or, family businesses, that type of thing. And so I remember my buddy Josh worked for the sod company, and they've been around since like 1986. So they've been around forever, and they weren't really ranking well for sod, which is like grass in Arizona. And so I was like, yeah, let me give it a shot. And so, we just used some of the techniques that I did for my blog, and sure enough was able to rank them for pretty much anything sod related in Arizona, Phoenix, on the first page. And so we're able to do that, but then realized that you really do need to have authoritative content, right? So like what does a sod company provide, right? Like they do sod installation, right? They talk about when do you overseed your lawn. So you want to have content on your website about what your company does, right? Because a lot of times companies just want to have like a 5-page website. Yeah. It's like about, contact, the team, homepage, and maybe services, and it's like, well, but I want to know like why I would choose you, what type of techniques do you use? What makes you different from the competition? What type of resources are good for what you do? Anything that can kind of build you up as an authority, whether you're a blogger or a small business, and having that content and using the same things that we talked about earlier. Not just having 300-word articles, but having well-researched content with purpose, quality over quantity.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, one thing Gary Elias said from Google. He said, it's possible. Now, he said this is not happening, but citations could eventually carry authority, with the mention of your brand or your name or that type of stuff.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because, I've worked on clients before in companies where they've gotten the mention, not necessarily links, so that would be huge. That would be big time. So, I mean, you look at sod company, and that's interesting because you probably talk to most people that own either a landscaping business or something of that nature, and they're like, I don't need to be writing. Blogging is not something I need to need to do. I'm doing fine, with whatever. With somebody that says that, and I know we always use plumbers, whatever, as they're like the
they got it bad.
Yeah, they're the scapegoat, as the black sheep of online marketing. But would you think that there's certain types of content and that can be done for any type of industry, any type of website, to not only help rank but help drive traffic and reach new customers? Would you say that it can be for anybody? It just kind of depends on what type of content, and you just need to find what's going to work best for your company?
Yeah, I mean, for any industry, there are going to be keywords. Really, the best way to do it is it's almost like cheating, but you're not cheating, right? It's like you find the best competition for that industry, and you see what type of content they've created. And really, at that point, you're like, oh, well, we're missing this article, this article, this article, and this is stuff that we do, right? And if we want to be an authority in this industry, we got to write content about it. And so it's kind of like, you're just trying to figure out if you want to be in a certain place, what it's going to take to get there, and really just looking at the competition, saying, what are they doing? What are they doing well? What can we do better? And then, implementing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people need to realize, too, it doesn't have to be written content. It could be a podcast. It could be a video. It could be, you name it. it could be anything. But, you know, if you can't write, do a video. If you don't want to be, if you've got a face for radio.
Yeah, that's why we're on the radio. So, yeah.
Don't you agree, Deacon?
I do. I will say, for instance, a podcast in and of itself for SEO purposes isn't going to be enough, right? It's going to be having those show notes that are going to be in depth, and that maybe having your transcription, that kind of stuff. But yeah, all types of content, all types of medium, especially, I haven't even talked to them, but like that sod company, it's been a while, but say they did video, right? Yeah. On like, here's how to overseed your lawn, here's how to time your sprinklers, twice a day for 5 minutes or whatever, and have that video be part of added value to that content, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we've touched on H1 tag or H tags, header tags. What else would you say would be a good tweak to get the blog going?
Another one I think a lot of people miss is like their images, optimizing images. So. Yeah. Having the image 123 as the name of the file, or just or having having whatever the default, if they bought it off of Shutterstock or Deposit Photos or something, whatever that default is in there. So I usually tell people, make sure that you name the file something relevant to whatever the picture is. So if it's I did one recently. It was like girl using tablet, right? Like it's pretty descriptive, like as far as that's what the actual image is. So that's why I named the image. And then the alt image tag, describe it as if you're describing to a blind person, right? Girl using tablet while drinking coffee at table or something like that, right? Yeah. Something that just really, had, the girl tablet, but it had a full sentence that's describing it as if someone was blind and it's being read to them, so they can kind of envision it, right?
Right.
So that's something that I think a lot of people could do to old posts, right? I know there's probably some back in the day. I have no index them, so I don't really care. But I could go back and add that too if I wanted to rank for those things. So alt image tags. Semantic keywords is another one, right? I think people can repeat themselves over and over again using the same words, or maybe they don't use the keyword enough, but you don't want to stuff it. So really kind of alternating between, figure out what are 3 or 4 similar words that you can use in that article, so it doesn't seem dry, it doesn't seem robotic, it seems natural and organic.
Yeah. We've had a ton of people on the show, and not too many have actually talked about that, the semantics as far as using similar words. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because it's something we preach a lot.
Yeah, well, it's just go back. People kind of go exact all the way through.
Over-optimized.
Yeah, and way overdone when it's, we've talked about it several times, how everything's more conversational tone, and that's how people are looking at things. That's how people are searching things.
Yes.
That's how Google is interpreting things, is that people are more conversational with what they're searching for, especially when it comes to local search. That's way conversational.
Yeah.
And so, it's no longer creating content for Google. It's creating, of course, that's going to be part of it, but you have to focus on the user, what they're looking for, what they're searching for, and are you answering that question or providing that value?
Right.
And so that's pretty important. So one thing I did want to get to touch on, Deacon, is that, I'm pretty familiar with your work. Like I said earlier, I kind of do some personal financing, or I've worked on it in the past, and you're well-kept wallet, and you're pretty, you've grown your authority and your brand awareness within the industry. You've been on some big publications and websites and stuff like that. Has just this come naturally through you consistently writing about what you do and putting out content, or have you done some kind of outreach for it? Because, I know you've kind of been on some news publications, some websites, done some videos and stuff like that, and you built your authority up through there. Is this just something you kind of did outreach, or did all this kind of come to you through all of the work that you've done over the years?
Yeah, so it was a combination. So the first thing, I don't remember how she found out about me, but I got this email from a writer at the U.S. News and World Report, and she had read my story and about us paying off $52,000 in 18 months. That's something I want to maybe emphasize is everybody has a story, right? Yeah. So if you're a blogger and you're writing about something, typically you're passionate about it, right? So figuring out what that is in almost like a title tag, right? Ours was paid off $52,000 in 18 months, right? That's kind of our story in a title tag as far as, 160 characters or less. So what is your story? And then being able to pitch that. But so to answer your question first, so I had written that article. This lady found it. She interviewed me. And then I realized, wow, we've got a story that resonates with people. And if one news outlet wanted to interview me, wouldn't others? So then I started getting proactive with it. So it was this realizing the value of our story and how that encourages and inspires people, now being proactive and going to these other outlets and saying, hey, this is what we did. We've been featured here. Would love to talk with you more about it. And I actually took it to our local market, which I think was huge, because I didn't really realize this, but local stuff can be syndicated, right? If it's Fox or CBS or NBC or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I did that. And when something's syndicated, it's not only in my local market, but it's in like 100 different cities, right? Yeah. They take that same content and spin it. Yeah. And so I was getting links from these other places. I was getting, other news media, contacting me directly. And so that was huge. So it's like, okay, figure out what your story is, start being proactive and pitching these different outlets. And a source that I've used is Haro, Help a Reporter Out. I think it's helpareporter.com, I think. And, these are news people that are looking for someone to answer questions for a story every day. And they send them out 3 times a day. And that's been huge for me.
Yeah.
They have tons of financial stuff.
Yeah, no, it's loaded up. They're always looking for something. No, that's good. Yeah, I like it. I mean, if you can tell your story, that's going to resonate with people. I think you have an awesome story to tell that a lot of people are interested in. Oh, I'm interested in it and read it, and it's great stuff. So, yeah, if you can tell your story, it's...
And that goes back to the quality content, too, because you don't know who's reading it. Yeah. Somebody from, like you're saying, the what is it, the News Journal?
Yeah.
Could be
U.S. News and World Report?
Yeah. They could be reading your blog post, and then all of a sudden, bam.
And they recognize it's valuable for other people.
Yeah,
Snowball
absolutely.
effect. I love it. Yeah, so we do have another question in. It actually came in from Caleb. Hey, another Caleb. What's up, man? He says, as far as capturing emails, how are you using your email list to drive traffic to your website or promote your posts, and is it working for you?
So this is crazy. So I just started really focusing on email this year, and I'm getting about 30 to 35 a day on average, email signups, which isn't a lot, but for me is a lot because I was getting like 1 to 5 email signups a day.
Yeah.
And so I went to this conference, Digital Collab, and this homeschool mom was talking, and she had 94,000 email subscribers. Ooh. And she's a homeschool mom of 4 kids. Like, she's got a lot more email subscribers than I do.
Right.
And so I signed up for her list. I was like, what is she doing differently, right? And her first email is like, in case we haven't met. And she just basically talks about her kids, a picture of each one of them individually, about the kid, like just it's really personal and why she wanted to be a homeschool mom. And then at the end, it's like, P.S. I want to know about you and your family. So please reply to this email. I read everyone and I reply to every email. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like that is key. She's building relationships through email, right? It's not a number, it's a relationship. And so it's saying, okay, so I did that. I went through and I kind of updated my email to have something similar with my wife and I paying off our debt. Here's us on Fox News on live TV, like a picture. Here's a picture of my kid with a truck because he loves trucks. And here's a picture of my wife and my kid together and just talking about them, right? And I started to get people. I had one guy go, his reply to my email was, "Is this real?" Right? And I said, his name was Colton, and it's so crazy. Like, I remember this, right? I'm like, "Yep. Tell me more about yourself, Colton." And then he starts telling me, and obviously this is like all confidential. I mean, I don't know the guy's last name or anything, but he was just like, he had these, he was sober for 6 years. He had all these financial problems. He's trying to get his life together and was asking for advice, And I was like, how cool is that? Like, if I hadn't redone my email, I wouldn't have been able to re-engage with this guy and figure out what his greatest need was and help him out, right? And so email went from this like nuisance to like, wow, this is a way that I can actually reach people, help people, and engage them. And to answer Caleb's question, to drive them back to the site, right? Say, hey, here's a post that I wrote about exactly what you're asking, or here's a video that I created to help solve, this problem, or, so I can constantly use that email to funnel people to the resource that I've created that will best help them.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Wow,
that's very interesting, because I haven't seen anything like that. Usually, the emails you get are "thank you for opting in," and it's just a blog post or something like that. Just
an autoresponder.
Yeah, just an autoresponder. And it's, of course, it's going to 9 times out of 10 it's going to be an autoresponder. But like, how are you first introducing yourself to that person that took the time to really sign up for that email list? And I think I read something with HubSpot to where, 25% will automatically drop off even after they sign up or something of that nature. But I think that's where a lot of people are missing out on relationship building, keeping that audience coming back for more. And I always said, like, a loyal audience is your biggest weapon when it comes to amplifying your content and getting it out there.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. Like, so have you seen kind of a big upswing in kind of your return followers and your audience and stuff like that because you've taken the time to build that relationship?
So I will say, so this conference was about a month and a half ago. So I would say the amount of people that are engaging with my emails, the amount of, I guess you would say, people engaging with my content from those emails is huge. Like, my open rates have skyrocketed. My click-through rates have skyrocketed. So, and it's funny is I'll see one that's like a third, and I'm like, what did I do wrong, right? Like, why is this one not clicking through? And I'm like, oh, because it's like an affiliate offer, right? So maybe I need to talk about how this affiliate offer really has been beneficial for me and why I'm recommending it. I'm not just doing it so I make money from it. Like, this is something that could be really helpful. So just going back through and fine tuning it. So I'm still in kind of that A/B testing phase, but it's definitely, I can definitely see it paying off.
Nice.
That's real cool.
I mean, it's all about, I've seen some companies like, let's see, God, I can't remember the name of the company, but anyway, where they get personal with emails. Like, it's an e-commerce site where they have a person, with we were talking about retargeting a couple weeks ago, and their email to the customer actually showed someone, like it was a handbag, carrying the actual handbag they were looking at, and then kind of personalize that email to get a better response, and it's been huge for them.
Yeah. It's like as personal as you can get. I think one I'm really impressed with is, of course, most people know Neil Patel. If you do any of his webinars or sign up for any of his stuff or anything like that, he gets very personal with it. And I think I got one the other day where it said, "Own just for Caleb McKelvin," and I'm going to click on it. I'm going to see what's going on. And, he gets very personal with it, knows what I like, knows what I want. And that's huge because you're establishing that relationship. And that's kind of what it's all about now. So very cool stuff. Once again, I know we're kind of winding down on the show. You can go to Twitter, use hashtag SearchTalkLive to get your questions in. We've had a few on the show, a few good ones. We appreciate everybody who has participated in that. If you'd like to, go on. Get a question on for Deacon Hayes, the founder of Well Kept Wallet and owner of Phoenix SEO Company. If you'd like to, of course, we're talking about how bloggers can improve their SEO and using blogging for your business and content marketing of that nature. And we are sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Yeah. So, Deacon, what would be the next thing? We got about 7 minutes?
Yeah, about.
So the next thing for me and Well Kept Wallet, or
no, tweaking the blog.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we've gone through comparing with the competition, updating header tags, doing alt image tags, doing semantic keywords. Another thing that I would say, this was key, that kind of along the lines of what we talked about with email, having a sentence at the very end. I usually bold it and say, have you ever experienced this? What has your experience been like, right? Something that gets them to engage with the content. Because as we talked about, as far as getting contents or getting comments and getting more content added as you go can be huge. So really not just writing the content, but having a call to action, right? Like what, let's just say, I have this passive income post, right? It's like, have you ever got passive income before? What has your experience been like? And they're like, oh, well, I created this drop shipping company and yada, yada. And now you can engage with that person on your site and have more content for that site that's relevant. So that would be another thing that I'd say is just having that sentence at the end of the blog post.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. That's, I think a lot of people, I know I've experimented with a little bit. If you can kind of entice them to engage with it, or simply kind of in a nice way, kind of ask for something, like ask for them to comment, ask for them to share, ask for them to provide their response to it, especially with opinion pieces. People love to, to participate with their opinion. But, if you kind of ask for something at the end or strike something with them to where they're going to want to engage, that could be big, and strike up a conversation, whether it's on your post or on social media. That could be huge with your audience and getting new audience members. And
do you find, what is your number, when you first started out, what was your strategy for getting those readers? Was it, influence writing, or was it, you just wrote the article? I mean, you shared on social media. What were some of the steps that you took there?
So I kind of fell into a group in the personal finance niche called, I think it was Ukezi, something. I don't even know how to say it. It's Ukezi or Ukezi, something like that. And these are other bloggers that are trying to help each other in the personal finance space get exposure. And so they had this challenge to get your Alexa ranking under 200,000, which I don't even pay attention to my Alexa ranking anymore. But it gave me like this goal of, okay, how do I do that, right? Well, I need to install an Alexa bar, and I need to engage with other, it's like I need to engage with other people that would do it, which are typically bloggers, right? Yeah. That are going to have this Alexa bar installed. And I got it under there. But in that process, I built relationships with a lot of personal finance bloggers, and they would come on a daily or weekly basis and comment on my site, or they would link to it. So that's why I say at the beginning of our talk is really kind of getting involved online within your niche, right? Right. Every blogger has a niche, and there are influencers within that. And it wasn't like, and I would also say, don't go to the most popular people. Like if I was to go to Ramit Sethi and say like, hey, well, can I write a guest post on your site? Like probably not going to happen, starting off type of thing. But if you go to some people that are less known, that are maybe been around for, 4 or 5 years, that are a little bit more approachable. Some of those people are really approachable. Like, John Lee Dumas, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, you want to do a podcast swap back in the day? And he's like, sure. And so I got on the Entrepreneur on Fire podcast just by reaching out to someone who's like one of the top business podcasters. Nice. So sometimes that works, but not all the time. So really just finding those people that, you guys can kind of build this online relationship and work together, sharing each other's content, et cetera.
Yeah. So how would you suggest that you kind of start that initial engagement? Just kind of go on, read their content, start commenting on their posts, reach out through email, connect through social media, all of the above. Kind of how would you start that relationship process?
Is that A, B, or C? No.
Yeah. Right, yeah. All of the above. One thing that I've seen very helpful, and like, let's just take, I had these entrepreneur success stories on my site, right? Like, because really I wanted to help people make more money and do stuff that they're passionate about. So I was like, I'm going to interview entrepreneurs. It's all content. It's text based, where I just had these 10, 15 questions. But the beauty is I'm reaching out to these entrepreneurs and saying, hey, I want to interview you, right, for my site and have valuable content on my site and link back to you. And I have no intention of saying, hey, why don't you link back to me? But just naturally, I'm giving them something of great value. I'm letting them tap into my audience for free. I'm giving them a link for free. All I wanted to do is hear their story, right?
Right.
And by doing that, I've established some trust in a relationship. And so if future projects come along or something that is a good mutually beneficial thing comes along, now we can collaborate. So it's really that's usually the thing is I never reach out to someone with, hey, what can you do for me, right? I reach out with someone as, what can I do for you?
Right.
And so reaching out to those people and saying, hey, I would like to have you on my podcast, or I'd like to have you interview you in this series that I have on my site, something that gives them value. So now you've built that trust, that relationship, and it'll make it easier for, when the time comes and there might be something that you need, they might be willing to do it at that point.
Yeah. So it's all about building relationships.
Start the relationships. Very cool.
Now, well, go ahead.
Yeah.
What were we going to say?
I was going to say, it's all about writing the most valuable content and building relationships. If you do those two things, you're pretty much solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he makes it sound so easy.
Man, Deacon.
Man, we are just about out of time.
Yeah.
We want to thank you for being on the show. We're down to like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Really, really great advice you've given, and I want to thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a blast, guys.
Yeah, man.
Very good. Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Guys, listen to Search Talk Live every Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Who do we got on the show next week, Caleb?
Oh, man. Next week, let's see here. Always have the thing pulled up.
Yeah.
Yes, we have, another tongue twister. We have SEO expert, Upasna Gautam.
Are you reading the right? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, don't even start that. Yeah, so join us next week on Tuesday.
What are we talking about?
3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Talking about SEO, search engine optimization. Kind of going to cover a little bit. We'll get more specific with our post as we come out with the newsletter. So make sure you sign up for that. Also, you can join me next Tuesday. I'm really excited. I will be doing the content writing chat. You can do hashtag content writing chat with Express Writers.
On Twitter, right?
On Twitter. Very cool stuff. You can follow Express Writers at EXP Writers. Go and check them out. They have this content writing chat and other chats each week. So next Tuesday, I'll be on there at 10 a.m. Central Time talking about practical SEO advice for the online creator. I'm really excited to be a part of that. We appreciate
tune into that, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate Express Writers on letting me be the guest host for that one. I'm really excited about it. So hope everybody from the Search Talk Live community come checks it out.
Yeah, and let's see. I'm performing. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Guys, if you missed any part of today's show with Deacon Hayes, you can go to searchtalklive.com after the show. It'll be on our previous shows that you can check out. We will also be tweeting it out after the show. Yep. You can go ahead and follow at Search Talk Live. You'll get all the information and plus the link to the post today, to the show today. Go on Spreaker, follow us. If you haven't, check us out on iTunes. Of course, if you just absolutely love us and want to listen to us all day, all night, go to iHeartRadio, go to Search Talk Live, and we'll be there.
Yeah, I'd also like to welcome one of our new sponsor, PRunderground.com.
Yes.
Their ads are going to start next week. And if you are interested in advertising, I did have a snafu with the pricing. It didn't make any sense, but I went back and tweaked that and fixed it. So all the pricing is correct. If you're interested in being a sponsor, you can go to our website, searchtalklive.com, and look under the advertising spot.
Yep.
Also, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, I have two spots
right
left
now
for this year. If you're interested, we are going to be out the first Thanksgiving week. That we won't be doing a show then, and then obviously after the 13th, we're on hiatus until December 6th, I believe.
Something like that.
Yeah.
We'll get specific with it next time. We'll update everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for your support and listening to the show. We really, really appreciate it. You can reach Caleb at CJ_MCE on Twitter. You can reach me at Robert O'Haver on Twitter, and follow us. We'd love to chat. We've made so many friends and really met some really cool people.
Absolutely. Once again, we appreciate Deacon Hayes being on the show today. A lot of great stuff. Check it out after the show if you missed any part of it.
Yeah, and anytime you can do hashtag Search Talk Live and ask a question. We'll add it to the next week's show.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, guys, for your support. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.